Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Thursday, November 16th. Ian Cameron and Alex B. Smith, fresh off a new haircut, as you can see. If you're watching, of course, that is on YouTube podcast. You can't tell, but he does have a new haircut, looking good. Ready for a Thursday card. We've got, of course, the first of 4 NHL Global Series games coming up today here in early action, Detroit and Ottawa. And that's exactly why we are starting this show a little bit earlier today, so we could get the analysis of that game in before it starts. We will do the same thing tomorrow. We will come on the air at 1:45 p.m. Eastern with the live show right before Toronto and Detroit take to the ice for the second game over in Sweden tomorrow at the same time, 2 p.m. So we'll get right into it. Just quickly on last night, credit to the Oilers battling back, beating the Kraken, and winning that game in overtime. Same thing with the Vancouver Canucks, who probably played their D- game last night, especially early in the first period, and still ended up coming back and winning that game. And really, they could have won that game, 5-3 in regulation, really, because they dominated the third period and all over them. And unfortunately, it took overtime to win it for those that were on the regulation, which we both were last night. But the first period over, Alex had that as well. That ended up coming through. And of course, the best bet in thrilling fashion comes through thanks to Edmonton tying it for me with Seattle and Edmonton going over the total. We had the over in the Anaheim-Colorado game. That was no sweat. Figured the Ducks defensively could be in for some trouble against Colorado. Back-to-back and thin air altitude of Denver is never easy. And they got boat raced later in that game, especially in the third period. It ended up being an 8-2 victory for the Colorado Avalanche last night. Tough spot for Anaheim, and it played out that way. Alex, just quickly, thoughts on last night?
Yeah, like I said, I had, most of my plays were pretty much just stacked with Vancouver. Got that first period over, but like I said, they just did not have their A game early. And if they did, like I said, they win that 5-3. I hit my puck line. I hit my regulation. Tried to grab some live money and couldn't do that last night. I was basically limited. Even trying to put a $5 bet in, could not even grab couldn't grab the money line for the comeback. It was pretty brutal. But so a 1-2 night, and like I said, Vancouver, showing the effort and the talent late, but they got to put together full games. I get this early in the season, but when you're a team that no one was expected to be this good, you got to, put the pedal to the metal right now. Take advantage of possibly, Vegas maybe running into a cold streak. Some of these other teams running into cold streaks while you're running hot. You can't let a mid-range team like the Islanders, play, let's stay in the game that long and go into overtime. You got to take care of business there. So hopefully a lesson learned for Tocchet and company with the Canucks.
Yeah, no doubt. And we'll see if, like I said, the Canucks were in a brutal spot. I normally don't take teams laying a price like Vancouver was in any form when they're off a road trip, especially a West Coast team coming back from the East Coast. But I just thought the Islanders are in that bad a way right now that Vancouver could have still won that game potentially handily. And really, they could have if they buried more of their chances, because really in the last 2 periods, they were all over the Islanders after that rough start. All right, let's get into the card, because we've got a game that's going to be starting in about 15 to 20 minutes from now. The first of 4 games between now and Sunday over in Stockholm, Sweden. The arena that they're playing in is called Avicii Arena, which I think is a wonderful tribute to a legend in the electronic and dance music industry. One of the best DJs probably in the last 20 years, 30 years, who passed away way too soon. So I love that they named that arena Avicii after him. Avicii Arena, Stockholm, Sweden, is the site for Detroit and Ottawa. Again, the first of 4 games taking place in Sweden. And of course, these are regular season games. There's 2 points on the line, so they count. Ottawa minus 130. Favorites 6.5 the total here in this game. You look at the way this sets up here. These are 2 teams where a lot is expected of them, no question, coming into the year. They've had their ups, they've had their downs. DJ Smith's been, fired, or they've been chanting for him to get fired, obviously, throughout the course of the season. The fan base, they had a bad little run there where they went 1-5. They beat Toronto to start that road on the road in Toronto. Then they came back home on a tough back-to-back against the best team right now in the NHL. They lost 5-2 to Vancouver. And then they bounced back. They beat Calgary 4-1 prior to this flight out to Stockholm here in Sweden. Meanwhile, Detroit, they've kind of been disappointing here the last 10 games. They're only 3-6 in their last 9 games, but they are off a 5-4 win against Columbus. The series history for the last 5 meetings have gone over the total. I don't know what we're going to expect here because this is going to be bigger ice. Obviously, this is not NHL-sized NHL regulation ice. This is going to be the European-sized ice. They did not put these 4 games in an arena specializing in the NHL-sized rink. So it's going to be bigger ice, more room out there. We'll see how the players can adjust to that for sure. We will see. There are some intangibles that are of note here. And one is that Daniel Alfredsson, of course, Swedish legend in the NHL, and he's still involved in the Ottawa organization. Daniel Alfredsson is going to be behind the bench tonight in a coaching capacity, just as like a guest coach, I guess is what they are saying. They're letting him go behind the bench. He'll be with DJ Smith and all the assistants for this game. And I don't know if that gets the team pumped up. You should be pumped up to play anyway. But, you got Daniel Alfredsson there. Probably the best player to ever don an Ottawa Senators jersey is going to be behind that bench now for the Ottawa Senators. So you better not lose this game. You don't want to besmirch and disrespect Daniel Alfredsson here in Stockholm, Sweden today for this game. I actually leaned Ottawa to begin with. These are small bets to get the day started. The game, by the way, is available on NHL Network in the United States. It will be also televised locally in the Detroit and Ottawa viewing regions. So Detroit will have their own broadcast, probably with Ken Daniels, and maybe not Mickey, because Mickey doesn't do as much traveling these days. So probably get Osgood or one of those guys to fill in. Larry Murphy, that's usually the other guys that do Detroit games. And Ottawa will have their own broadcast on TSN 5 in the Senators viewing region with Gord Miller and either Mike Johnson or Jamie McLennan with him. So that's the way the television will go for this game. Local view and an NHL Network, I presume, is just going to pick up one of those 2 broadcasts. That's my guess. But as far as this game goes, a little bit on Ottawa -130, a little bit on the over just because of series history, 6.5. We've got both of these teams, obviously, that have been able to put the puck in the net. I don't mind both teams to score first period either. It's +125. There could be, remember, jet lag in the first game there. There could be some real sloppy, haphazard action early on. So the first period, both teams to score, which you can get +125 or +130 is something I'm looking at. And as far as props go, I've told you, I committed to it. I'm going to be looking at the Swedish players. I think they're going to be wanting to bring an A level of performance and effort as much as they possibly can. You can get a great price on Lucas Raymond for Detroit, of course, playing in his home country, +310 at FanDuel to score a goal. I am on that. I'm also looking at Lucas Raymond assist +200. And here's an interesting one. He's not Swedish. He's German on the Ottawa Senators. I'm talking about our guy, Timmy Stützle, who's obviously one of their better forwards. I read something where it's a short trip from Germany to Sweden, so it's not that difficult to get there. And Tim Stützle's got like a ton of family and friends in attendance for this game this afternoon to watch him. And a lot of these family and friends have not seen him live inside the arena, watching him live play an NHL game. So I'm going to look toward Tim Stützle for Ottawa as well. +165 to score a goal, -110 to get an assist. And then you talk about a lottery shot. He may not score. He's not much of a scorer, but he's Swedish. He's Eric Brandstrom on the blue line for the Ottawa Senators. Crazier shit has happened. 15-1 for him to score a goal, +1,500 at Caesars. That's definitely throwing a dart. There's no question about that when it comes to Eric Brandstrom scoring a goal. But, he's Swedish. He'll be up for this game. You never know. Maybe a little antsy, maybe a little more interested in firing the puck on net, in a game like this, playing at home. So we'll definitely take a look and see if maybe a lottery strike can happen there with Eric Brandstrom. Also a little bit on Jacob Chychrun and Mo Seider, 2 blue liners playing a lot of power play time right now to get a point. Chychrun point is -125, and Mo Seider to get a point is +130 for Detroit. And there's another guy I read that's going to have some family, some friends in attendance. He also Comes from a country that's neighboring Sweden, so he'll get some decent support as well. Alex, what do you think here? Global Series in Stockholm, Sweden, Detroit, Ottawa.
Yeah, so I'm passing this game. I definitely want to kind of get a view of it. And like I said, we'll be watching it as we're on the air. I'll definitely try and watch a little bit more of a repeat of this as well. Because like I said, I want to get to see what this ice looks like. The atmosphere, of course, all four teams that are involved, like I said, have lots of ties, either franchise-wise to Sweden or current players, a lot of current players, and a lot of top current players. And I was going to ask you a question. Have you noticed, at least in looking with this game, and maybe you'll see it, tomorrow and the rest of the weekend, a change with some of the player prop pricing for some of those Swedish nationals going back home, or guys who might be playing in front of friends and family? Have you noticed where the books maybe have either boosted or even taken some value away from those guys because everybody's kind of thinking, oh, well, Sweden guys back home, maybe they're more live to score?
Yeah, I have not seen any adjustment, quite honestly, because I just bet Lucas Raymond about an hour ago, plus 310 at FanDuel. That's right in line with the way he's been priced pretty much all season. So you're really not seeing much of an adjustment. And I'm sure when we get to, he is the star, he is the best, most well-known star player probably from Sweden in this game is Lucas Raymond for the Detroit Red Wings. Tomorrow, obviously, we know who it's going to be without a doubt, with all due respect to Lucas Raymond, who'll be playing in that game too for Detroit, but that would be William Nylander tomorrow for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I'm already looking ahead to tomorrow, and Nylander's goal prop is where it always has been, plus 140, plus 150. That's pretty much the average goal price that he's had all year. So not much of an adjustment, if any.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's something that I just wanted to note, and I'm sure people probably had a question regarding that. But one thing I do know about with Detroit, Ville Husso is not on this trip. I think he's, if I'm not mistaken, his wife's having a baby. So it's James Reimer starting this game and possibly Alex Lyon going in the other game. So with that, I might look for something with a live over potentially. That would be the only thing I would be trying to kind of take a shot with. But like I said, just kind of want to see will the jet lag be there? Will, like I said, the excitement of those guys being around family and friends, it makes for an interesting kind of dynamic. And of course, like I said, just seeing, and Cuban Wayne Gretzky mentioned this in the chat. I watched the thing on NHL Network last night, and they were talking about how sometimes these trips can really bring teams together. And these are four teams that certainly they're in different situations, but they all could use some bonding and some growth. And maybe this trip really helps it. That's the thing I want to see out of these four teams when they get back. And of course, the first game could be, who knows, obviously from that travel jet lag back. But after that, to see if these teams have gelled and meshed and fixed some of their issues, especially when you're talking about Ottawa and Minnesota, two teams that could be looking at coaching changes possibly when they get back to North America. So definitely want to kind of more observe everything as a whole with these four games rather than kind of pick or take any really big shots with that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Sit back, observe, watch, analyze, and really make your moves from there. And that could be a decent approach here for this game, which is, by the way, about 5 to 10 minutes away. The NHL Network coverage is now on the air. So that game will be dropping the puck momentarily. All right, the rest of the games, obviously, at night. Vegas and Montreal. We've got Vegas minus 200, road favorite, 6 the total here in this game. Vegas, what a stunner the other night, losing to the Washington Capitals. Was a weird game from their standpoint where, they had some decent looks at net. I don't think their overall quality of scoring chances were as good as they sometimes provide. And credit to Charlie Lindgren. He was very good, and he's actually outplaying Darcy Kemper right now for the Washington Capitals. So Lindgren very solid in net. We'll see if Vegas can bounce back. They're off a 3-0 shutout loss here to that Washington Capitals team. I would expect them to want to play better, get back on track here against Montreal. Certainly a bounce back spot for the better team, which means, it's difficult for me to step in front of Vegas in this spot, but I'm not overly in love with taking the minus 200. I prefer a puck line in the first period. I might get there with a first period puck line potentially on Vegas in this game. Figure a fast, good start in the opening 20 minutes of this game. That being said, Montreal, the last few games, I like what I've seen. They beat Detroit in overtime. They upset Boston in overtime. The loss to Vancouver was in a tough spot with the Canucks on a back-to-back and the Canucks off the loss to Toronto the night before. And then I thought they should have beat Calgary. Don't be fooled by the 2-1 final score with the Flames over the Habs the other night. Montreal definitely was the better of the two teams. There's no question. And I thought they deserved certainly a better fate in that game. Aiden Hill will be in net for the Vegas Golden Knights. Caden Primo here for the Montreal Canadiens. you look at series history, which is surprisingly 4 of the last 5 meetings have gone over the total here between these two teams, including the last 2 in Montreal between the Habs and the Golden Knights. And I am going to go a little bit against the grain here with an over. And I don't do that very often with Vegas, but it's 6. It's minus 120 to minus 125 with the over in this game. I think Vegas off a shutout loss, you're going to want to see them they're going to want to look more toward getting things back on track as far as offensive hockey is concerned. 4-1-2 the last 7 meetings in Montreal to the over between these two teams. And if you look too at long-term numbers here as far as Vegas is concerned, there are some trends that point to when they score 2 goals or less, which hasn't happened a ton to them this year. They've been trending over the next game. And then I see it in practice yesterday. Guess what Montreal's working on? In a game where they had all kinds of chances, all kinds of great looks, all kinds of great opportunities against Calgary, and nothing could go in the net in that 2-1 loss. They were working on offense. They were working on breakouts. They were working on set plays in the offensive zone, both at 5-on-5 and with the power play. So everything that Marty St. Louis was working on with his team yesterday prior to this game was to help them offensively, to try to get, a little more finish into their game, knowing that, they left a lot of potential goals on the board against Calgary where they had so many chances and they only ended up getting the 1 goal. So you put the series history together, you look Montreal putting a lot of emphasis and improved offensive play into this game against Vegas. The fact we've seen Vegas and Montreal trend over head-to-head, and the fact you got Vegas off a shutout loss where I don't think they're going to mind how they played defensively against Washington, but they know, hey, you got to score goals if you're going to win hockey games. So I'll look probably at a Vegas first period puck line in this game, and I'll also look over 6 here, minus 125. Alex, what do you think here? Golden Knights, Canadians.
Yeah, I'm going to lay it with the first period over 1.5. You can find minus $1.35 at Caesars. I'm seeing some $1.40s. That's fine. Anything higher than $1.40, I'd say wait and try to grab something quickly live. 5-1 to the first period over in the last 6 minutes. You mentioned about the trend with the overs, and like I said, with Vegas getting shut out, that's something you don't see too often. I can see where they definitely come out firing hot. So I might take a shot with that Vegas puck line as well, but I definitely like that first period over a little bit more.
All right, and as far as player props for this game, I feel like Josh Anderson is due for he hasn't scored a goal this year. I can't believe it, and you wouldn't believe it unless you saw it last game against Calgary. How many chances he had without scoring? It was unbelievable. Like he was hitting the post a couple of times. Unbelievable saves by Markstrom on a couple of chances he had. He's had 9 shots on goal in the last 2 games. I mean, it feels like the floodgates are going to open for Josh Anderson very soon. So I don't know if tonight's the night, but he's going to eventually get that first goal. You can't keep getting the chances he's been getting and not eventually find the back of the net. So, if you want to think that he's about to finally explode offensively, then maybe you could look at some props involving him tonight in this game. As far as the Vegas Golden Knights, William Karlsson has certainly been one of their better forwards lately for them. He's got a boatload of 0.7 in the last 6 games, 4 goals in the last 5 games for Vegas. So he'd be one that I'd be targeting for sure, looking at William Karlsson, who has obviously been one of their more productive forwards. It's funny because, Marchessault of late for the Vegas Golden Knights, he's got 6 goals on the season, but he's actually gone 5 straight without scoring for this team, and that doesn't happen very often. So it's a very rare dry spell at the moment for Jonathan Marchessault of this Vegas Golden Knights team. All right, Arizona and Columbus. We've got Arizona minus 125 home road favorites here in Columbus. Total 6.5 here in this one. Arizona, quite the effort from them in their last game against the Dallas Stars. In fact, they had a 3-2 lead in the third period, but they could not hold the lead. Dallas ends up tying it, and then the Stars get the 3-2 win in overtime against the Arizona Coyotes. So we'll see how this game plays out here with Arizona and Columbus. But you look at this Coyotes team, even pretty much every game going back to a 4-3 win again, or 4-3 loss rather, to Anaheim back on November the 1st. We really have seen this team play one pretty competitive close game after another 3 of those last 7 games have gone past regulation. The ones that didn't, there was a 3-2 regulation win for Arizona against Montreal, 5-3 regulation win for Winnipeg against Arizona, a 2-1 regulation win for St. Louis against Arizona, and then the other night a 7-5 over the weekend win for Arizona against Nashville. So it looks like we've seen multiple overtime games, and the largest margin of victory in an Arizona Coyotes game in their last 7, has been 2 goals. So I think the draw might be a decent look here in this game. That's certainly where I lean right now. You get a nice price, obviously. Our friends at FanDuel, I call them my friend because nobody's comparing to them as far as the quality and the value that you get with the draw prices, which are very good over there. You can get Arizona Columbus draw here at plus 370. Pretty good price there as far as the draw is concerned. So, yeah, I like that here in this game. The draw is certainly worth a look. As far as goaltending, we do have Connor Ingram and Elvis Merzlikins both confirmed in net. And the one thing I've been doing here lately with Arizona is 8-2 to the over in their last 10 games. Columbus has gone over in 5 straight games. As far as series history, 4 of the last 5 have gone over. So back to another over here as well. Coyotes and Blue Jackets along with that draw. Alex, Arizona, Columbus.
Yeah, I'm on the draw there as well. I grabbed plus 340 at Caesars this morning, but also looking at the live over first period and full game. I'm going to get 5.5, laying $1.20, $1.25. I'll even go up to laying $1.30. I just want to get the better price. Oh, I'm sorry, the better number as opposed to the price. And for the first period, I'm trying to look for maybe plus money. That might be pushing it. I'm thinking we might have to lay maybe $1.20 or $1.25. So that'll be waiting about 2 or 3 minutes. I'll have both of those listed in the family plan. I have quite a few live plays tonight compared to what I've had this week. Been virtually nothing, but definitely the family plan. This will be one of those games that'll be listed.
Yeah, no question. Definitely. And Fantilli for me with props is definitely the one I'm targeting most right now with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Marchenko's actually stepped his game up a little bit lately, so not bad as well. Lawson Krause, yep, Cuban Wayne Gretzky. How many times have we talked about Lawson Krause? He has been excellent lately for the Arizona Coyotes. Going back to the beginning of November, Lawson Krause now has 6 goals in 7 games for the Arizona Coyotes, so he's been absolutely terrific. So those are the main props that I would look at. No question, as far as this game. Fantilli, maybe a little bit for Marchenko for Columbus, and then Lawson Krause for Arizona in this game. Is that true? I kind of think they didn't play the anthem either because I didn't see it. They're playing the American and the Canadian anthem now, but you're right. At least as of right now, I have not seen the Swedish anthem played. And if they don't play that, that's a bad job. You got to play the Swedish anthem. I mean, the damn game is in their country. You got to play the Swedish anthem before every game, I think, that they play over there. That's a horrific job if that's the case. There's no reason for that. We'll find out. But I saw the American anthem. Now they're playing the Canadian anthem. So we'll see. So basically, as far as the first game, we've got, for those that just joined, a little Ottawa, a little over 6.5, and all the Swedes. Raymond, a little Brandstrom sprinkle at 15-1, and obviously a couple guys too. They're going to have some family in attendance. Mo Seider for Detroit, and especially Stützle for Ottawa. Like Stützle's got a lot of family and friends watching this game in attendance today. So watch for a big game potentially here from Tim Stützle for the Ottawa Senators there as well. All right, next up we've got New Jersey and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh minus 145, home favorites. The total in this game, 6.5, shaded to the over. This is a game where I want no part of a side. I'm just going to look to goals because I think we're going to get plenty of them here in this game. Pittsburgh is better offensively than they are defensively. I've basically said that all year about the Penguins, and they're playing like it now. They're finally actually playing the way I thought they would offensively. Like they are definitely scoring some goals right now, which they really should be able to. And when Sidney Crosby and Gensel and Malkin are playing like they are right now at the same time, they become a very, very difficult team to defend. And we are seeing that. They're scoring goals in bunches right now. But at the same time, this is a team that's laying $1.45. Don't like Pittsburgh at that price. I just don't. And you've got a Pittsburgh team that even though they've won 5 in a row, some of these games they've been, the underdogs at least a couple of times. And this New Jersey team, while I think there's some value on their price, I'm not backing them either. Can't do it without Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier. There has just not been enough cohesion and enough, and really their defensive game is the bigger issue. I find that there's enough offense for New Jersey, even without Jack Hughes, who's so important at that end of the ice. But Nico Hischier is legitimately, undoubtedly, one of the absolute best defensive centers in the National Hockey League. And you trace back New Jersey's results to the moment they lost Hischier to injury, and it was that St. Louis game. Look what's happened. 4 goals to the Blues, who aren't an offensive juggernaut. Okay, the one game that they actually kept someone under wraps since Hischier went down, and Hughes for that matter, was Chicago, where they won that game 4-2. And then other than that, 6 goals allowed to Colorado, 4 to Washington, 6 to Winnipeg the other night when they lost to the Jets. So they're having issues. They're not as good defensively, clearly, as a team without Nico Hischier, and we are seeing that. So I don't want to lay this price with Pittsburgh, even though they're in better form right now. I don't want New Jersey, given the way they're playing without Hughes and Hischier, but I do think we see offense here. I like over 6.5, New Jersey and Pittsburgh, -130. Alex, what do you think here? Devils, Penguins.
Yeah, it's once again, the high price, high number. Might want to wait for that at least to drop down. You can get a 6 somewhere, shop around, look for that. And I know some books will switch over to a 6. I would maybe even try to grab a 6 in game if your book doesn't drop full points. So if it goes from 6.5 to 6 to 5.5, maybe even grab a 6 at plus price. And then, you at least have that in pocket. You can try and grab some 5.5 at plus money too as it keeps going down, kind of ladder it a little bit. That's the way I would want to approach this live. But I definitely think we see goals, going both ways. And like I said, just can't really feel comfortable taking a side with either team now. Certainly don't like laying a price with Pittsburgh these days.
No, I'd actually lean New Jersey if I had to, but I just don't like their form right now. They have owned Pittsburgh 5 straight head-to-head meetings that New Jersey has beaten Pittsburgh, but it's not right now. Not liking what I'm seeing at all from the Devils at this point in time. Yeah, a lot of good prop options. For me, I'm going back to the 2 centers. The 2 centers have been pretty good. Mercer and McLeod. They're doing the best they can. Tough situation, obviously. All right, I'm just trying to see. Yeah, they've dropped the puck, Detroit and Ottawa. Scored Miller doing the play-by-play. I can tell by the voice. So there you go. So they're using the Ottawa broadcast, it looks like, on NHL Network at least. So, in terms of this game, like the goals, there's some good prop options here in this one. When you look at it, I think when the ones that stand out, like I said, are McLeod and Mercer. Those are the 2 guys that are really carrying the load right now for New Jersey in the center ice position without Hughes and Hischier. I mean, pick your poison with Pittsburgh. I mean, Crosby's on fire at the moment. Gensel's been great. Malkin all season has been very consistent. Brian Rust is capable of always stepping up. So, it's one of those you share the wealth if you're going to bet Penguins props, because there's a lot of players right now in some very good form for them entering this contest tonight against the New Jersey Devils. I mean, Crosby just did a number on Columbus with the hat trick the other night against the Blue Jackets. He's still leading the team in goals with 10 and in points with 19 for the Penguins after that hat trick performance the other night. Zohorna, I've mentioned Zohorna, Evan, no question. Zohorna's a good value. He hasn't been scoring the games I bet him, but I still think if he keeps playing at this the way he has and getting to the front of the net, he's eventually going to find a goal here for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I do agree with that still. Conceptually, I do think the value is still pretty solid there with Redim Zohorna. All right, next up, we've got Tampa Bay and Chicago. The Lightning here, a big road favorite in this game right now, -185, road chalk at the United Center. Total in this one, 6.5, shaded to the over in this game. Look, I understand that Tampa Bay is, yes, they're the better of these 2 teams. They lost at home to Chicago last week, so it's a short turnaround revenge spot for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They may not look past Chicago quite as much as they did last week, but there's no way I'm laying minus 185 on the road with Tampa Bay. Do you know the Lightning are 2-6 on the road this year? I mean, they have not played very good hockey outside of Amalie Arena. And we saw very stark glimpses of this last year as well, where they really struggled on the road to put wins on the board. 2-6 on the road ain't going to cut it. Now, you can counter that and say Chicago's only 1-3 at home. I understand that. But, I mean, I'm telling you what, Tampa Bay is not a team I'm excited to back on the road in any way, shape, or form. Not even regulation or -1 am I excited here to back Tampa Bay right now. I mean, shutout in back-to-back games. I can see Kochetkov and the Hurricanes shutting you out 4-0, but to be shut out by St. Louis and Binnington the other night, 5-0, not get a smell in that game against the Blues in what was supposed to be a step-up spot after you got shut out the last game. I mean, that is definitely not what I want to see from the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I did do a write-up. This is the game that I was assigned the write-up for Oddspedia, my weekly write-up, Tampa Bay and Chicago. I made a lukewarm case for Chicago and the over in this game. I don't feel great about either one. But again, when you're basically being asked to, write up a certain game, you can't just say pass. You got to give the reader something that some kind of lean or light opinion. And for me, it's a light opinion on Chicago or the draw even and the over in this game. But more than anything, the favorite bet for me is ride the wave that is CB98 right now for the Chicago Blackhawks. And that is Connor Bedard. I mean, you are looking at all kinds of situations for him right now where he is playing extremely well for the Chicago Blackhawks right now. I blanked there for a minute, but he's playing extremely well. The numbers have been absolutely terrific from him in recent games. And it's not only scoring a bunch of goals and collecting a lot of points, but he is absolutely scoring highlight reel goals. Like, he is making incredible plays, on a nightly basis. You could tell he's gaining more and more confidence by the game. He's scored in 5 of the last 6 games. He has 7 goals, 9 points in the last 6 games for the Chicago Blackhawks, Connor Bedard. So, goal and assist props for him, it's the obvious bet. Sometimes the obvious bet makes sense. And right now that is for him. Now, I do want to point out something. This is the second meeting in a 2-week span or a 1-week span between these teams. We have the 2 former Lightning players that are now on the Blackhawks, Tyler Johnson and Corey Perry. And wouldn't you know it, they both scored against Tampa Bay last week in Chicago's 5-3 win over the Lightning. So I don't hate those looks either. Johnson and Perry, once again, maybe to light the lamp against their former team tonight, the Tampa Bay Lightning. So when we know that former player facing the former team betting angle, it's pretty scary and pretty uncanny at times how often that works out well. And then as far as Lightning props, Barré-Boulet and Paul have had the value, in my opinion. I don't mind looking that way, but if they're going to bust out of their doldrums, you may want to look at the big boys tonight. Nikita Kucherov, who, even though they've been shut out the last 2 games, he's been outstanding all year. Stamkos, Point, Hagel, and there's another one, Hagel against his old team, Chicago here. So that's who I'd want to stick with if I'm looking at Lightning props, assuming they don't get shut out again, which I think is highly unlikely, by the way, that the Tampa Bay Lightning will get shut out for a 3rd straight game here as they take. All right, we are back. Apologies there. We are back, and that's happened a lot lately. We're trying to figure that out. I'm gonna have to get on the horn with the internet provider and say, why on earth are we getting knocked out here like this over and over again? But it's happened a couple of times. But we're back now. It looks like Alex got bumped offline as well, but he's back as well.
That was weird. I think that did StreamYard just shut down completely and just
it did. I think maybe it's not mine. Maybe it's StreamYard.
No, it's StreamYard.
Because if you got knocked out as well, that's definitely StreamYard.
I thought I froze, but then I saw you froze, and then I had nothing, and then I had to just reopen everything.
There we go. Exactly. So it's StreamYard. All right. Our apologies, but we're back. We're back now. So yeah, just to finish what I said, Bedard for Chicago, and I mentioned that, Johnson and Perry for Chicago against their old team. And like I say, this could be a night if Tampa Bay is going to not get shut out again. Maybe the big boys are going to step up here, namely Hagel, Stamkos, Kucherov, Point. But like I said, Barry, Boulay, and Paul are the two that I think have had the great value for the Lightning as far as their player props all season. Alex, what do you think here, Lightning Blackhawks?
Yeah, I think this could be one of those fun, kind of just goofy, we don't really know what we're going to expect kind of battles as far as just back and forth action. Like I said, Tampa Bay, historically, when they're a team that gets shut out or has just a complete lethargic offensive effort, they usually bounce back in a big way. But obviously, like I said, these aren't the Lightning teams of yesteryear, but they still do have a good enough offensive talent. Are we really relying on Peter Mrazek to shut down anybody? Not necessarily, but I think it's going to be a good action both ways. Like I said, Hawks, haven't had the best home record, but think about who they've played. And it was funny. I was watching a couple clips hearing this, and it's like, yeah, they had a murderer's row to start the year. You're on the road for 5 games, but then the teams you play at home, you play Vegas, you play Boston. You've played some of the best teams that you could possibly play to start the year. And the Hawks have weathered the storm pretty well. So, like we said, we talk about this. This is all about a year of building confidence, right? Connor Bedard getting his legs under him, and Korchinski and all the different, rookies that are coming in. I think this is one of those games where, like I said, the confidence is on the Hawks side, and it's almost kind of confidence and ignorance too, right? Like, okay, yeah, that is Tampa Bay. That's a team that's won a couple Stanley Cups and 3 Eastern Conference titles in a row. So be it. Go out there and beat them. They're not that good. We've talked about the goaltending. Like I said, we've talked about how they've just been streaky, haven't been that great on the road. Defend your turf and get a home win as a dog here. I like the Hawks here, but I like the first period over way more. We've seen this cash in left and right. Got it in Tampa. I think we definitely see some goals here. So definitely won't lay 160. I'll be looking for this around 130 or 140. I want to grab this quick because I think we could see goals early. We saw a goal. I think it was like in the first minute of this game when they played in Tampa last week. So that's something I'm looking at. Also for player props, you got to take Connor Bedard to score a goal while he's bigger plus money than I expect. I'm seeing plus 170 at Caesars. He keeps on scoring. Those will be you'll be laying prices with him sooner than later. So we'll take that value too. And there's 2 plays that I'm going back and forth on for my bargain bin play. So I'm going to save one of those I give to you later, and then the other one I'll just have posted on the write-up.
All right, I like it. There we go. A little bargain bin tease for later on in the show. Looking forward to that. By the way, it's 1-0 Ottawa. They have scored against Detroit. And I'm telling you what, this pace is off the charts. I mean, if they keep this up for 60 minutes, the way they're flying up and down the ice right now, unless Korpisalo and Reimer turn into Patrick Waugh and Marty Brodeur going head-to-head in this game, this is going to end up 6-5 or 5-4 for somebody. I mean, they are just going up and down, up and down. There's been a boatload of just these incredibly high-danger chances so far in the start of this, just in the first 7 or 8 minutes of this game. There probably could have been already 2 or 3 goals in this game. Right now. So 1-0 Ottawa. They just scored on a power play. So that game underway there in Sweden. But yeah, I'm with you, Alex. I think Chicago's got a shot here. I mean, revenge be damned. This is a team that's won 2 out of 8 road games this year, laying minus 185 on the road. I'm not interested. Sorry, at that price.
And what's interesting too? I wonder where is Jonas Johansson's mindset right now? He's starting tonight. Yeah. He knows Vasilevsky's on the trip. He's skating. He's getting closer. And what's going to be his mindset once Vasilevsky? Obviously, it's Vasilevsky's job, but
he knows the clock is ticking. Yeah,
right. And will he be getting regular rotation? Are they going to, kind of do a 1A, 1B system the first couple of weeks when Vasilevsky gets back? Because like I said, how sharp is he going to be once he gets in net? But that's something to kind of look at too, though, with Johansson. He knows the writings on the wall for him as the number 1 goaltender with this team as of right now. And that'll be something to see, just kind of how his tendencies and reactions are. Kind of watch and just see how he responds after goals or responds after a big flurry of saves. That's something I'm just going to be kind of focusing in on.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I think he knows too, like Tampa Bay knows, hey, if we're not going to win any games if we're shut out, and it's even going to be more difficult to win games when we're shut out, when we've got Andrei Vasilevsky out. So for Tampa Bay, it's important to get their offense going. I know that there's been times they've tried to tighten things up, knowing that it's Johansson and not Vasilevsky, and that tonight ain't going to be one of those nights. They know, hey, we got to score. if we're going to win games. And to be honest, their 5-on-5 offense hasn't been great. It hasn't been anything special, Tampa Bay. They've feasted on the power play. And guess what St. Louis did the other night? They stayed out of the box. They didn't give Tampa Bay, I think, 1 or 2 power plays. That's all Tampa Bay had in that game. And because they were disciplined and they stayed out of the box, Tampa Bay didn't score. I mean, that's why their power play is top 3, but they've done a lot of their offensive damage on the power play this year, Tampa Bay. Their 5-on-5 offensive game has not been what we've seen in years past. All right, next up, battle out west, Western Canadian matchup, Vancouver and Calgary. We've got Calgary -150, home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. I don't know what the schedule makers did to piss off, or what the Vancouver Canucks, I should say, did to piss off the schedule makers. I mean, you send this team on an East Coast road trip, you put them back home for one game against the Islanders, and now they're back on the road on us back-to-back. I mean, my goodness, talk about trying to really hamper this team and hamstring them from a scheduling standpoint. Absolutely brutal spot for Vancouver here in this game, but I'll be damned if I'm laying -150 with the Calgary Flames. That's just not going to happen. They're coming off their own East Coast road trip, much like Vancouver did. You know what I kind of like in this game? Vancouver first period in this game. Because even though they're on the back-to-back, we saw this with the Islander game. Islanders jumped on Vancouver in the first period coming off the East Coast road. Maybe Vancouver can do that here tonight against Calgary. Jump on them in the first period coming off the East Coast road where they played Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal in those recent road games. So that first period look, I definitely prefer that with Vancouver than full game. And I don't care that it's back-to-back. I don't care that, that they played a lot of games and it's been a lot of travel. I have to look at a split Canuck team total right here. I'm seeing 2.5 -150 with the team total tonight for Vancouver. I mean, just asking this team to get 3 goals. I mean, and I know Markstrom was brilliant against Montreal, but brilliant performances 2 in a row has not happened with Jacob Markstrom very often, dating back to last year. So I like a little split here. 3 different small-scale bets. Vancouver first period, Vancouver over 2.5 at -150, and I'll split that up with Vancouver over 3.5, which is like +135. It's a really, really good price there for the Canucks as far as their team totals for a team that's been routinely getting to 3-4 goals, in pretty much every game. I'd prefer those looks than rather the full game money line here in this game. Is just focusing on, I think, an overvalued Calgary team. At this point in time, that when's the last time they've strung 2 really good performances together? And I wouldn't even call the Montreal win a great performance. If anyone saw that game, that was Montreal just failing to score, failing to capitalize, and Calgary hanging on for dear life, despite the fact I think they got outplayed by the Montreal Canadiens in that game. So even on the back-to-back, I like a little bit Vancouver first period and a split between Vancouver over 2.5 -150 and Vancouver over 3.5 team total at a plus price in this one. A goaltending matchup, obviously on the back-to-back. We'll see Casey DeSmith for the Vancouver Canucks after it was Demko last night, and it will be Jake Markstrom for the Calgary Flames. What do you think here, Alex? Vancouver, Calgary?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said, disappointed with how that Vancouver game turned out for me yesterday because I had a lot of things stacked, needed the puck line, regulation, and all that went down when the game goes to OT. But resiliency nonetheless, they come back to dominate the third period, get the win. And now taking on Calgary, which this is a rivalry. It's not as contested as it was maybe a decade ago, but still nonetheless, especially with a Calgary team that, they probably feel like, wow, we should have been in the spot where Vancouver is right now. We should be playing much better hockey, but we just aren't that good of a team. And the Canuck team, like I said, just playing some great hockey right now and completely unexpected. Ride that momentum, and I think they can ride that momentum. Like I said, it's awful that you had to, come home off of a trip and now head back on the road. But the momentum of how you won last night, maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. Like I said, that can kind of carry over a little bit early. So I'm right there with you on that first period look with Vancouver. I got +115. First period over, definitely would take a look at that, but that was something that I'd have to go live. I'm seeing 2s or prices up to 170. So definitely we'll be having a circle on that live. And I'm also going with the draw, +370 at FanDuel. 3 of the last 4 meetings between these two have gone past regulation. So definitely can see a tight game. And it kind of sucks because when I look at this Vancouver Islanders game, I'm kind of tipping my hat to another game too. But I really thought, wow, okay, if Vancouver wins this game, I can see both those teams in their next contest playing to the draw. So I'm looking at that here and probably looking at the other game as well.
Wow. And it looks like Tkachuk has just scored for Ottawa. So there you go, 2-0
Wow.
For the Ottawa Senators in this one. Brady Tkachuk, and I think we got our Stützle assist prop on that goal as well. So there he goes. So there's our first prop to hit the winner's board here in this one. Both teams to score didn't cash Cheshire Cat. No, Ottawa scored. It's 2-0. 2-0 Ottawa. Detroit didn't score. Where are you getting that? Detroit scored. I mean, where are you? I'm watching.
Oh, Detroit power. I think because somebody said Detroit power play in the chat earlier, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, no, it's 2-0 Ottawa. We have not hit both teams to score first period yet, but there's still 10 minutes left. It's been wide open as fuck so far in this game. So, lots of time left for Detroit to get on the board before the end of the first period here between these two teams. Oh, one of the betting apps said it was 1-1. Yeah, I know that would be frustrating, man.
That happens a lot.
Screwing up like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because it's overseas and they're just, I don't know, their live scoring app gets fucked up by the game being in Stockholm. I don't know, but
I don't know. I will say this though. I'm watching on NHL Network, and I flipped over to the Detroit feed. It's about 2.5 minutes difference. NHL Networks, they're on top of it, but all the local feeds might be behind. So something to keep a note of if you're watching these games the next 4 days. The local feeds might be way behind. So.
Yeah, exactly, and definitely it's something to keep in mind. And like I said, they've got, I think NHL Network, they're promoting it now. Yeah, they've got all 4 of these games. Mm-hmm. All 4 of the Sweden games are going to be on NHL Network. So there you go, and including Toronto, Detroit tomorrow. It'll be Ottawa, Minnesota on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And then it'll be the last one on Sunday, and it's 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central for Alex, Toronto and Minnesota Sunday. I think they purposely moved that one earlier because Gary wants no part of it going up in the afternoon with NFL football. Right. That's exactly why it's that early, the Sunday game. Yeah, wants no part of going up against NFL, the Mighty Shield. With that. All right, just briefly, look, as far as props go, I mean, obviously it's a back-to-back. I worry maybe there's the little fatigue sets in for the Canucks, but take your pick who you want to bet for player props. Who's not alive to score or get a goal or get an assist right now for this hockey team? Whether Quinn Hughes on the back end, Philip Roenick just on fire with the assists, and even he scored last night, the game-tying goal on the 5-on-3. His props are worth a look. Those 2 blue liners. Miller's on fire. How do you not look at him? Besser keeps scoring. How do you not look at him? Mikheyev's been undervalued on that top line. We've mentioned him a lot. So, I mean, you could just go all over the map here with player props tonight involving the Vancouver Canucks here in this game. And then as for Calgary, I'd stick to Connor Zary. He's honestly been one of their best forwards. I bullshit you not. This guy he's out. He's been better than Kadri and certainly better than Huberdeau since he's been called up to this team. So, and he's been scoring and he's been producing in just about every game since. Yeah, there he is, Daniel Alfredsson behind the bench. They're just acknowledging him. They're doing the announcement that he's behind the bench and he's doing the wave to the crowd there. Like, no wonder Ottawa's jumping out of their skates early and they're up 2-0. Like, how do you lose this game with Daniel Alfredsson, the greatest Senator of all time, behind the bench there? How do you look yourself in the mirror if you lose this game tonight? Yeah. Really?
is it ceremonial though, or is it, could that be like a foreshadowing? We talk about DJ Smith possibly, being boosted out. You think Alfredsson could be possibly somebody that they move, maybe slide in potentially?
I don't think he's interested in being full-time coach, and I don't think they're fully looking. I think this is just one of those deals. He's working in the organization. He knows enough. Let's put it. It's like a guest coach. Okay. Just because the game's in Sweden. So I think that's all it is. But you never know. You never know. I mean, maybe he's going to start experiencing this here and say, hey, that's pretty cool here doing this, behind the bench thing. Maybe I should consider maybe doing this in a bigger role, a full-time role at some point. But I think right now it's just, to be a guest right now. Yeah, Zetterberg and Sundin, as I know, got his nose in there. Legend from the Leafs, of course. And it's funny about Matt Sundin is that he played on the Leafs with Ty Domi and little Max Domi's running around the Leaf dressing room in 2003, 2004 is like barely a 6-7-year-old kid probably at the time. And funny to see. And Matt Sundin was saying it's funny that I'm going to be meeting up with Max, the Leafs and the coaches and the players when they're in Sweden. And now I'm going to be able to see Max Domi my old teammate Ty's kid playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs, my old team, in my home country of Stockholm, Sweden. It's pretty surreal. That's pretty damn surreal. This little boy that was just running around causing a fucking ruckus in the dressing with the little mini sticks. They played mini sticks, apparently, little Max Domi back in the early 2000s when Mats and Ty Domi were playing for the Leafs. So just pretty cool, actually, when you think of it.
It is.
Pretty cool that that's happening right now. It's funny how life comes full circle. All right. You know what's not coming full circle for the Islanders is wins right now. The New York Islanders taking on the Seattle Kraken. Seattle minus 115, home favorite, 6 the total in this game. I sure ain't bullish on Seattle, but I am on Seattle tonight here, minus 115 in this game. This is a full-on, fade city of the New York Islanders for me right now. There's nothing to like. The hallmark of this team under Barry Trotz, what was it? It was defensive ability and shutting things down when they had a lead. And you couldn't come back on them, or it was very difficult most nights to come back on them. Good luck trying to win a hockey game against the New York Islanders when they had a 2-3 goal lead. Now when you have a 2-3 goal lead, if you're an Islander fan, your heart's in your throat. You're worried. You're panicking because they have just done a terrible job holding leads. Countless games, Alex. I mean, Detroit earlier in the year, there's like 4 or 5 examples of this team just having a brutal time holding leads. And we saw it again last night against Vancouver. 2-0 lead after the first period. Nope, couldn't hold it. And the Vancouver Canucks come back and they beat the New York Islanders. And we know they can't always outscore their problems as far as, the issues they're having blowing these leads. The New York Islanders. So there's all kinds of issues right now with this team. It looks like the Red Wings have scored. They're just, I think, looking to confirm that the puck crossed the goal line. It definitely was in. Actually, I see it now. The puck was definitely in. I think Ottawa might challenge that Korpisalo's pad was pushed into the net.
It was. At least 3 times his pad was literally pushed by a stick. So that might be coming up.
That might come off the board, honestly, and that would be disappointing for me and several others that look like they have both teams to score in the first period. But is it already in before he pushes the pad? That's the key determining factor right here. That's what they're going to look at. Is the puck already in before he pushed the pad? So that's what's going to review time. Here we go. So we'll keep you apprised of how that ends up going. But yeah, that Detroit goal is under review. But yeah, I'm on Seattle here in this game, minus 115. I mean, this is just not an Islanders team I like. I'll be honest, Seattle should have won last night. I thought they outplayed Edmonton. And Edmonton and they had firm control, Alex. They're up 3-1. Edmonton gets that 3-2 goal, and they tie it. And Edmonton had nothing going on before that. It's important to note that was a sterile team. The building was dead silent. Seattle had seized control of that game. Up 3-1, and just the 3-2 goal got them going, got the team going, got the crowd back into it, and it was just like a tide that couldn't be stopped at that point for Seattle. Evander Kane goes crazy to tie that game, and then, of course, they get the overtime winner, the natural hat trick there for Evander Kane to come back and get that win last night. I still will take Seattle right now and what I've seen from them compared to the Islanders. Both teams on a back-to-back, and they both have to travel here to Seattle. Yeah, no goal, so it's still 2-0 for Ottawa in the game over in Sweden. But yeah, for me, Islanders, Kraken, both on a back-to-back, both having to travel to Seattle for this game. I'm going to take Seattle here, minus 115. I think the Islanders are even in a worse spot right now in terms of current form than the Kraken are. Alex, what do you think here? Isles, Kraken.
Yeah, it's not my favorite draw on the board, but I definitely, like I said, did take this draw. I got plus 340. And like I said, it was just, I liked this spot a couple of days ago. Like I said, looking ahead and looking toward this with the Islanders and that Canucks matchup, I thought the Islanders were going to get smoked in that game, start to finish, honestly, and thought they would have a better chance of bouncing back and playing a tight one here with the Seattle team. Like I said, with Seattle blowing that lead now, too, it could be a bit frazzled and now coming back home. So I definitely feel like this game could be a draw. I just don't know what I'm going to expect as far as a total. I don't know if this could easily be one of those games that's 1-1. Or it could be, 4-4 after 60 minutes. So I'm just staying with the draw and kind of avoiding everything else.
Looking at the draw here, Alex, with the Islanders and the Kraken, and I don't mind that at all. I actually think this is probably a lower scoring after both teams, could not hold 2-goal leads in their games last night. Islanders to Vancouver and Seattle to Edmonton, they couldn't hold 2-goal leads. So you got to think they tighten up. So this is probably, of all the I don't like many unders tonight, but I will say this right now. I definitely think you could make a case for the under here in this game with the Islanders and the Kraken. Got to believe both teams want to tighten the fuck up after what happened to them both last night against the Canucks and the Oilers, respectively. This has not been a good period for James Reimer. And is that Jake Sanderson? I think it is, who scored that goal.
Yeah.
I didn't bet his props today, but I told you a long time ago. I mean, once in a while, you're going to get that guy chipping in for you and producing. So 3-0 Senators, and they're amped up for Danny Alfredson. No, I'm sure that's not it. They're playing well too, but Detroit is not, and that's got to be stopped by James Reimer right through the old wickets. And he's actually played well for Detroit more often than not this year, but so far not today.
I say you're in the land of goalies. You might as well drop them and get another one when you leave, right?
yeah, exactly. Leave him give him the Gallant treatment. Yeah, just leave him at the Stockholm airport there. No question. So 3-0 Senators all over Detroit early on. So Detroit, next goal is very important for Detroit. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
If they get further behind, they're in some trouble. All right, next up, we've got the St. Louis Blues and the San Jose Sharks. We've got San Jose. St. Louis minus 200 road favorite, 6 the total in this game. Look, the Blues are playing good hockey right now. I'll give them all kinds of credit. I mean, this is a nice little run that they have put together. I mean, shutting out the Tampa Bay Lightning the other night. You know, everything says they should beat San Jose, right? Everything says they should beat San Jose with the way they're playing. They just shut out the Lightning at home 5-0 the other night. But wouldn't this just be so St. Louis to lose this game? Crazier things have happened, and I don't feel comfortable with the Blues in this spot. And they are still not one of those teams where when they're a minus 200 road favorite, I'm going to really rush to back them. You know, they're 8-6. They've definitely performed better, and that's credit to Berube, credit to Robert Thomas. Those two guys, and Thomas has been outstanding for them. Their blue line has been better. They've kept the puck out of their net more often than we would have expected. To this point in the season. Like I said, they're 5-1 in their last 6 games. And look, they've beaten some good teams too. Tampa, Colorado, New Jersey for 3 of those wins. But for some reason, I've got a sinking feeling that St. Louis is in a battle tonight here against this lousy San Jose Sharks team. They're just one of those teams that, I don't have that confidence in them. Sometimes when they step down in class, you don't get the best from St. Louis. So we'll see how they fare here in this one. I'm not backing San Jose either, obviously. They've lost 3 in a row since those back-to-back wins that they had, their first 2 of the season against the Flyers and the Oilers. And since then, they lose 3 straight to Vegas, Anaheim, and Florida in the last 3 games. So I don't want San Jose. I don't want to lay this price with St. Louis. Where do we go here? I think you can make a case for either over or St. Louis team total over now that Kaapo Kähkönen is confirmed in net, because say what you will about Blackwood, who I don't trust, but Blackwood's been Bernie Parent compared to Kaapo Kähkönen, quite honestly, this year. At least Blackwood's had a couple of games where he's really looked sharp, really on his game, playing at a high level. He's had some clunkers too, but he's at least had a few good starts. And, you think of the Colorado game where they stole a point early in the year. He played pretty well in the 2 wins they had. But Kaapo Kähkönen has been a disaster. 0-5, a 4.4 goals against average, and an .875 save percentage for Kähkönen this year. Absolutely brutal numbers. So I don't know if I bet the game. I don't feel strong about it. But if I were to get involved, it would be a Blues team total over or a full game over of some kind. But probably default more toward Blues team total, because I'm telling you what, Kähkönen, you look at these numbers, 5, 6, 3, 3, 4. I mean, in the majority of his starts this year, it has not been pretty for him in between the pipes for the San Jose Sharks. So leans here to the Blues team total, split with maybe the full game over at 6. What do you think here, Alex? St. Louis, San Jose.
Now I'm keeping this simple. I'm laying $1.30 with the first period over 1.5. Like I said, Kähkönen has just been atrocious. And this is a St. Louis team, like I said, starting to get things rolling in somewhat the right direction. I don't think they're going to, go leaps and bounds right now and have a big run. But it's San Jose. They should be able to win this game, and you should be able to score goals. So I think we see them early. And we've seen 4 straight first period overs cash between these two, 6-1 the last 7 meetings. So we'll go Blues Sharks, first period over 1.5 minus $1.30.
All right, there we go. Blues Sharks, first period over here for Alex with St. Louis and San Jose. As far as props, I'm not going to go further than Robert Thomas. I mean, we've talked about him over and over again for this Blues team because he's been absolutely terrific. I do want to point out, too, though, someone is starting to percolate again now that he's healthy, and that's Jacob Vrana for St. Louis. Scored against Tampa Bay, 2 points in the last 3 games. This is a streaky bastard, Jacob Vrana. He really, really is. I mean, when he can go 5 or 6, 7 games without scoring, and then he has a heater through 7 or 8 games where he has like 8 goals and 8 points in 8 games, that kind of thing. That is what he's capable of. So Jacob Vrana, when you start to see him light the lamp, score goals, and produce, that might be the time to start looking at some of his props moving forward. So maybe keep an eye on that tonight on the St. Louis side as they take on the San Jose Sharks. All right, final game of this Thursday card, Florida Panthers taking on the Los Angeles Kings. We've got L.A. Minus 130 home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. Florida playing some excellent hockey. Let's give them their due. They have managed to have the record that they have, Alex, without Montour and Ekblad, playing a single game for them this year. And they're closing in on a return, by the way. We're looking at maybe within the next couple of weeks that both of them are going to be back. So it's really going to be good news for Florida that they have a 10-5 record now without those two. I never thought that would be the case. And I'll admit, too, when I get something incorrect, and I said early in the season, Florida's going to struggle. And they're really not going to get good until they get those two guys back. And here they are with a 10-5 record. You got to give them all kinds of credit. And Paul Maurice, in particular, a lot of credit. Great job. They've played very well at home. On the road, not nearly as much, but 4-4 on the road. They start their West Coast road trip with a 5-3 win against San Jose. It wasn't easy, that's for sure. It wasn't pretty, but at the end of the day, they found a way to win that game, come back after being down 3-2 in the third period. We'll see if they can carry that over here to tonight. This, to me, this is one of those games, Alex, where gut tells me LA is going to get it right finally on home ice tonight. It's just, I've got that feeling deep now. There's nothing that really indicates that. And there's no reason for LA to be 1-6 at home like they are. I mean, there's really no reason. I mean, this has got to change at some point. 7-0, of course, on the road. I know I said a few shows ago I wouldn't back LA again until they're on the road. I don't know if I will tonight, but I'm very tempted. I'm definitely leaning to the LA side here, minus 130. You got Florida now coming off the San Jose game. You've got a lot of rest here for LA coming off back-to-back losses that didn't sit well with them, losing to Pittsburgh, losing to Philadelphia. Sounded like a little bit of a frustrated, pissed-off team about the home woes, the home ice struggles that the LA Kings have had. And I think it just, to me, in the pit of my gut, this feels like a spot where we get a response and a good one here from the Los Angeles Kings tonight in this game. It's not easy to go against this Florida team right now with the way they're playing. They've obviously won 5 in a row. But again, 4 of those have been at home. Let's keep in mind their road record is still only 4-4. They're a 500 road team. And this is by far, this ain't the San Jose Sharks tonight. This is the Los Angeles Kings is a better team. So I'm close to moving on the LA Kings here. Very close to moving on LA minus 130. I just feel they're not going to lose at home indefinitely. It's going to turn at some point. They've been stewing since Saturday when they lost at home to the Flyers. I think tonight might be that night they turn things around and finally get a second home win this season. What do you think here, Alex? Panthers, Kings.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I like Kings, but I think this is one I'll be watching late. And so this is one I'm more than likely would be looking for a live spot. Maybe we see a goal early. Maybe Florida can get a goal early and we can get a better adjusted price on LA that can kind of, they throw the first jab and kind of wake them up a little bit, or maybe we see kind of just back and forth action. But I want to get a little bit of a feel for the pace for this one before jumping in. But like I said, LA, they can't lose it at home forever. And this is a team that had historically played much better at home than on the road. So it's good to see them playing this well away from Hollywood. But the fact they haven't been able to win at home, that's troubling, and they need to get that on the right track. This is a good team to do it against. It's a team that they've won 5 straight against. So maybe they can continue that, get that home momentum rolling with this game here.
There is no question about it. And plus the thing too about the Kings, it's been stunning to really see this. On the road, you bet the Kings, you bet the under. And at home, you bet against the Kings and you bet the over. I mean, it's been crazy how it's worked out that way. Their home games are going over and they can't win at home. And the road games that are winning, you want to back them, and their games are going under because they've really, really tightened up their defensive play and their D-zone coverage on the road. But I think tonight's the night. I truly believe that. LA is going to I like it that they and plus they know no travel too since that loss on Saturday against Philadelphia. They stay in LA 4 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days off since that Saturday game against the Flyers. So they got lots of time to really work on their game, get some practice time in, something they couldn't really do when they were on the road. This should be a sharper, better Kings team tonight, based on the spot, based on the fact they get practice time in, some rest finally, after the road trip and the 2 home games that they played. And I think that's going to be beneficial to the LA Kings tonight. So, yeah, LA minus 130. I'll be involved. Just a question of how much. All right, good stuff. That is the Thursday card. We appreciate it very much. A shout out to everyone in the chat. Over 200 live viewers right now on this Thursday edition of the Ice Guys. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Make sure you're a member of the Ice Guys family plan, the YouTube channel membership. Again, that's just $9.99 US per month. The daily betting card, player props, Alex B. Smith's live wagers, and plenty more on the way. We're going to have our betcast next week. Again, that's the only hint we're giving you, that it will be next week. And it'll be just at a random day or time where all of a sudden on the Patreon page and on the community tab, you're going to see the YouTube link that says live betcast right now. And that's how you're going to find out that we're on the air. So it'll be sometime next week. We'll determine the date probably by tomorrow, Alex and I. And of course, our main betcast for the month of November that'll be open to the public, to everybody, will be Tuesday, November 28th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you join us for that.
So also make sure to check out the Ice Guys store the next 4 days, 20% off of everything there. We've got some new hats that are there as well. We've got a couple of new Christmas things as well. So definitely check that out, iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Absolutely. Make sure you check that out for sure. All right. It is time for our bargain bin special of the night. Alex already hinted at it earlier that he is involved and he's going shopping to the bargain bin here on this Thursday night. Alex, what have you found?
Yeah, I got 2 that are fitting the criteria in the Tampa-Chicago game. I got to narrow it down to 1. So I'm going to go with Tyler Johnson to score a goal. I cashed with Corey Perry in Tampa. Like you mentioned, Perry and Johnson both scored in that game. But Tyler Johnson moving up in the line tonight. Definitely could see where he definitely would, be a factor here. And I think this is, like I said, a lot of people in the chat were saying that Bedard's probably going to be watched a little closer. We're going to see, the body kind of taking to him a little bit more because of how he was in that last meeting that could open the ice up for some of those other guys. I think Johnson might be one of them. So I grabbed that at Caesars plus 380. Tyler Johnson to get a goal.
There we go. Tyler Johnson to get a goal for the Chicago Blackhawks. And what was the price there?
Plus 380 at Caesars.
Plus 380. All right. Very good price there. Tyler Johnson plus 380. All right. My bargain bin special of the night for this Thursday card. And it's funny because I did make a case for a few bets involving the Vancouver Canucks in this game, namely the first period money line, because I do think catching Calgary in that first period of action coming off the East Coast road trip, they could be vulnerable. How Vancouver was last night against the Islanders in that first period. So I like that situational look. And I do think Vancouver's team totals are undervalued tonight, even though I'm looking in those directions. As far as my bargain bin special of the night, I'm actually looking at someone from the Calgary Flames as a bargain bin special of the night pick. And it's going to be Connor Zary. He has been terrific. He has scored in, I believe, all but 1 or 2 of Calgary's games, the 7 that he's played since he's been called up from the AHL. And you can find Connor Zary at plus 340 at Caesars to score tonight for the Calgary Flames against, again, a Vancouver team that is on a back-to-back that does have Casey DeSmith, not Thatcher Demko in net, although DeSmith's been pretty good this year. So that being said, I do like the value, and he's been the one constant lately for the Calgary Flames, and the price is very good considering he's on the top 6 forward group and gets power play time for the Calgary Flames as well. Connor Zary plus 340 for the Calgary Flames for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, it is time for best bets here to wrap up this Thursday edition of the show. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, we're going to go with Vancouver, Calgary, regulation draw, plus 370. 3 of the last 4 meetings have gone past regulation. I definitely think this could be one of those kind of tight back and forth, Pacific Division battles, and it's going to take a little bit longer to finish it. So let's go Vancouver, Calgary, draw, plus 370. That's my best bet.
All right, there you go. Vancouver and Calgary draw. A nice plus price there for Alex with his best bet for this Thursday NHL card. My best bet for this Thursday card, let's go to New Jersey and Pittsburgh, and let's go over 6.5 minus 130. Definitely looking at a very good, recent form for the Penguins offensively. Still think they can be a little vulnerable, though, in their own zone defensively, and I think you're going to see more of that here tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins. New Jersey, we noted earlier in the show how much worse they have been defensively without Nico Hischier in particular, giving up 4 goals, 5 goals, 6 goals on a routine basis in a lot of these games. So definitely liking the look here that we see goals both ways tonight in this matchup. So New Jersey, Pittsburgh, over 6.5 minus 130 for my best bet here for this Thursday NHL card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. Special reminder that tomorrow's show will begin at the same time, 1:45 p.m. Eastern time, and we will get you all the bets and info and analysis for the second Sweden game tomorrow, which is Toronto and Detroit, also starting at the same time, 2 p.m. Eastern. So we will be on 15 minutes earlier tomorrow as well to get you ready for that game. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we will talk to you again tomorrow on a Beantown Friday edition of the Ice Guys.